Hey there, welcome back. Today we're talking about ideologies and politics. So we are covering topics 4.7, ideologies of political parties, and 4.8, ideology and policymaking. In this lesson, we're going to learn the basic ideologies of political parties and how those parties incorporate ideologies into their policies. First, let's talk about the ideological spectrum. When we talk about ideologies, we typically are talking about the ideological spectrum. When you're talking about the left, you're talking about the left of the political spectrum. When you're talking about the right, we're talking about the right of the political spectrum. Democrats typically tend to be on the left or the liberal side of the political spectrum, whereas Republicans tend to be on the right or the conservative side of the political spectrum. Now you'll notice that I put Democrats and Republicans very close to the center on this graphic. There's a reason for that. U.S. politicians are actually typically very close to the center of the ideological political spectrum. There are lots of other ideologies that go way beyond what U.S. politicians typically believe. So let's talk about liberal and conservative. Now remember, liberal tend to be on the Democratic side, Democrats tend to be on the liberal side, and Republicans tend to be on the conservative side. So liberals tend to believe in a strong government to provide economic security, protection for civil rights, and freedom from government intervention in social conduct. So what does that mean? They want more government in economic affairs and less government when it comes to social conduct. Conservatives believe in free markets, limited government, self-reliance in economic affairs, and the value of tradition, law, and morality in social affairs. So they're pretty much the exact opposite of liberals. They believe in less government interference when it comes to economic affairs and more government influence in social affairs. There are critics of both sides of the political spectrum. Critics of liberalism say that liberals rely too much on government, higher taxes to solve the nation's problems. They believe that liberals have forgotten that government has to be limited if it is to serve our best interests, and that a welfare state will destroy the engine of economic growth that might lead to true equality of opportunity. They also believe that liberals often extend personal privacy without consideration of tradition. Now, when we're talking about personal privacy, we're talking about the right to privacy that the Supreme Court has typically used to rule on matters of marriage and sexual orientation. Critics of conservatism say that conservatives tend to urge more government when it serves them, but then are opposed to it when it serves others, tend to place way too much faith in the market economy, and some say that conservatives have failed to endorse policies that deal with racism and sexism. So is that really all there is to the political spectrum? Are those really the only ideologies that you can have in politics? No, that's not. The political spectrum has way more to it than just that one little line. Here, the political spectrum has been turned into a grid, and you've got the economic scale on the horizontal line and the social scale on the vertical line. When you talk about it this way, it gives you more in-depth knowledge of really what people tend to believe. Some ideologies that come out of increasing the size of the political spectrum are libertarians. Libertarians oppose government regulation and intervention, have a high regard for civil liberties, and say liberty first. They oppose censorship, they want lower taxes, they are economic conservatives, and they are social liberals. Basically, libertarians want as little government as possible. Libertarians are very close to being anarchists. Anarchists want no government at all. Libertarians want a little bit of government. They believe that the social contract should be in place, but they want as little government as possible. Then there are populists, and populists want the common person to be more represented or taken care of by the government. They feel that the elite put their interests in front of the people. Now, it depends on which populist you're talking about as to who they define as the people versus the elites. Typically, the people are the good guys and the elites are the bad guys, and the elites are representing whoever is the enemy at that moment. So it could be large corporations, foreign countries, even immigrants. And populists tend to say that these elites are putting those interests above the interests of the people. So how does ideology affect policy? How do political parties actually create policy based on ideology? Well, remember, policy is really a course or principle of action adopted by a government. Policy is the idea behind legislation. When politicians are in government, their ideology is going to affect the kinds of legislation that they propose, the kinds of policy that they propose. A liberal legislator is going to be more likely to propose policies that provide more regulation on environmental issues, more regulation on economic issues, and less regulation on social issues. Whereas a conservative is more likely to propose legislation that has more regulation on social issues and less regulation on economic issues. But remember this: those who participate get to make policy. If you refuse to participate, you don't get to make policy. If there are things in this country, if there are things in this government, if there are policies that you want to have changed, then you have to participate. At the most basic level, participating is voting. And if you're not voting, you're not participating. And you are not getting to participate in policy decisions. Policymakers on both sides of the ideological spectrum, liberal and conservative, have to think about the balance between individual liberties and social order. Remember that social contract. Is being safe on a plane worth having to take your belt off at the security gate? Those are issues that policymakers have to decide. And so they always have to keep in mind, what are we giving up in order to gain this other thing? In this lesson, you should have learned about the basic ideologies of political parties and how parties incorporate ideologies into policy. If there's anything you've missed, go back and rewatch that part of the video now. Then go in and make sure that you've answered the summarizing question in your notes so that you can get a stamp the next time we're in class. All right, we'll see you later. Bye.